Good afternoon. My name is Troy Bell. I am a JIU doctoral candidate. I'd like to thank you for being a part of my presentation. I will be discussing my dissertation topic through my PowerPoint slide. The name and title of my dissertation is Effective Strategies to Teach African American Students from the Administrator and Teacher Perspective. I will be going through the agenda items. The agenda items pertain to the statement of the problem, purpose, research questions, significance of the study, limitations, literature review, methodology, participants, data collection, data analysis, results and findings, discussion, implications, recommendations, and further research. Statement of the problem being investigated is whether or not teachers are using effective strategies to successfully teach African American students in a specific urban Texas school district in North Central Texas. Darling, Hammond, and Berry asserted body of research indicates that students of color will not succeed unless school leadership provides them with teachers who know both the content of what is being taught and how to teach to this specific subpopulation. The purpose of my study was to identify strategies that teachers use to successfully teach African American students in a specific urban Texas school district in North Central Texas. The study identified through data collection and analysis categories of themes from which grounded theory may emerge. The research questions, there were two from my study. The first research question: what strategies do teachers successfully use to teach African American students in a specific urban Texas school district? The second question: what common characteristics do teachers who successfully teach African American students have? The study yielded significance. The study yielded data to identify strategies which were effective in teaching African American students. The study provided useful information in applying effective teaching strategies to improve the academic growth of African American students. The study revealed best practices that could assist administrators and teachers in performing their jobs as educators more effectively. And lastly, the study identified teacher effectiveness as a vital component in motivating African American students to want to learn and take ownership in their learning. The limitation. The sampling design was purposive in nature, so that therefore it limited my population that I can go out and interview. The study was not to be generalized beyond the school district involved. The study was not able to control nor predict the views or suppositions of participants, specifically their narratives. And lastly, the results and findings were only interpreted by myself, the researcher. The delimitations, the phenomena of investigation were restricted to administrators and teachers of a specific urban Texas school district. Therefore, that's the purpose of sampling. And the phenomena under investigation were restricted to the narratives and experiences of the participants. Phenomenology calls upon the idea that a specific population has a special expertise in the phenomena that's under investigation. Therefore, I investigated administrators and teachers for this study. Before I get to literature review, the theoretical framework that involved in this study was culturally relevant pedagogy, along with pragmatism and constructivism. The main theoretical element was culturally relevant pedagogy. It looked upon culturally relevant pedagogy is defined as a culturally relevant pedagogy that builds on the premise that learning may differ across cultures, and teachers can enhance students' success by acquiring knowledge of their cultural backgrounds and translating this knowledge into their instructional practice. There were 5 areas that were covered in the literature review: differentiated instruction, teacher self-efficacy, culturally responsive teaching, motivating African American students, and teacher preparation programs. Differentiated instruction. The idea here is that the purpose of differentiated instruction is to ensure that all students get it, and by that I mean they are able to comprehend the information. Teachers should be encouraged to adjust their teaching styles to reflect the needs of their diverse student populations that are in the classroom. Teachers are better off trying to strengthen a variety of approaches by drawing on as broad a range of methods as possible. Teacher self-efficacy. The idea here was that African American students need teachers to make evident their enthusiasm and appropriate belief, as well as display support in their efforts toward achieving success. In looking back throughout my paper, the one thing that came across through the findings and the results is that the classroom teacher is the single most important person outside of their parents in the life of an African-American child or student for that matter. And that was taken from Neely, one of my authors. Teachers need to have high self-efficacy to teach students successfully. When this is true, they can accomplish all tasks regardless of culture. Culturally responsive teaching. The idea here was effective teachers and ineffective teachers do not share the same qualities. Teachers who are successful with black students engage in what Lansing Billings calls culturally relevant pedagogy. The author went on to state that teachers have high expectations for black students, esteem students' experiences, and by connecting them to the curricula and focuses upon students' overall growth. Motivating African American students. The idea here was African American students want to know, how is this going to be relevant to their day-to-day life? It can no longer be do as I say because I said it in education. There has to be more thought-provoking and more tie-in aligned with what you're teaching and instructing African American students. African American students' lack of overall success in their academic achievement is a major concern in schools today. One of the authors in my study, Neely, commented, and he stated that one way that this can be done is that students need to think more critically rather than fall back on recall information, because when you allow kids to think more critically, you're actually instilling in them more depth and meaning to their education. Lastly, in the literature review was teacher preparation program. But before I get to that, just a little case study in talking about how to motivate African American students. There was a BDI study in my paper called Biography-Driven Instructional Practices, and in that, kids were given foldables, and in those foldables, they were told to always look up certain words that would help them, words that they didn't know that would help spur their interest as well as keep them motivated in learning the material. It was found in that study that when you write down the key vocabulary words and you apply them to the background of your present knowledge, so therefore you're bringing new information in with old information, and then you're trying to do a tie-in to sync it to what that particular person knows in regards to the information. So that's a form of constructivism, which I said earlier was one of my theoretical elements, because it takes new information and applies it to old so that there can be an understanding of what it is that information is trying to inform that particular student. Also, in the analysis of that case study, it was known that teachers who used that type of instructional approach, albeit another assessment tool, were found to increase student achievement, and over teachers that did not. And moreover, teachers' scores increased, and through the interview data, the study also revealed that teachers found BDI strategies to be effective tools for improving the learning process and outcomes of diverse student populations. I need to go back, excuse me. And teacher preparation program being the last literature review subtopic. The idea here was it is counterintuitive when systemic policies and practices match students with the greatest needs with teachers lacking the specific training needed to meet their needs. Based on evidence of positive student and teacher results, educators' programs should be compelled to increase teacher self-efficacy so that African American students may increase their academic achievement. And obviously this goes for all students. In addition, one of the African American authors that's in my references talked about that educator programs cannot continue to marginalize the cultural concepts in the preparation of pre-service teachers by giving little credence to the enormous body of African American literature written by African American scholars. So again, in order for African American students to achieve success, there needs to be, teachers need to be more knowledgeable about the students that are in their care. So there has to be a relationship built to where trust can be built up, and then when trust is there and it's credible and it's sincere, then that openness and that dialogue can take place. Next, we'll talk about the methodology. There were 3 methods that I used. The validity of data gathered was addressed using 3 strategies: in-depth interview, questionnaire, and document analysis. In the in-depth interview, that is a way to gather thick, rich, descriptive information from the participants. The narratives of each participant, they were very candid. I was able to probe to get even more clarity of thought, as well as interpretate the data. The questionnaire was used to list the intangibles that might influence the respondents, as well as it was used to differentiate the experiences of each participant, and as well as increase confidentiality. And the questionnaire data, it was also used to assess the narratives of participants in regards to receiving cultural diversity training in preparation for working with diverse student populations. The document analysis, that served as a resource to provide information and input in how to formulate the questions, as well as how to structure the study. The documents that I used in the district were from our district website, PIMS data, which is the Public Education Information Management System. I used the AEIS report, which is the Academic Excellency Indicator System, as well as data by teacher information that was provided to me from the administrators that were in the study. My participants, 30 participants were sent emails to solicit them being a part of the study. Only 14 responded back. 10 were women, 4 were men. Range of experience ranged from 5 to 33 years. 7 participants stated that they see some type of cultural diversity training. However, all participants had multiple years experience in working with diverse student populations. And there were 8 that held mid-management certifications, which is required in order to be an administrator in Texas. Data collection. The primary method was the face-to-face interview, okay? However, my first interview, I did do a pilot study, and initially my concern was the conciseness of it because it went rather quickly, so I didn't really know if it was the questions or it was just the narratives of this particular person. But as it turns out, as I mentioned earlier in the limitations, I can't predict nor control the narratives of the individual. So it really ran according as it was supposed to. So it was determined based on that the questions were aligned and were were concise in nature to be good questions for this study. As you can see, everything was digitally recorded, and I did have a transcription service transcribe my interviews as well as edit my dissertation. Data analysis. In the data analysis part, I went out and purchased the QSR in Vivo 10 software program. In that, it allowed me to store information, it allowed me to retrieve data, it allowed me to do frequency of word searches, to try to look up and find any commonality in themes, and to see if anything emerged. The narratives of the participants, they were analyzed and coded to ensure accuracy of information while checking for emerging themes. The validity of my data, it was committee approved. Probing questions to clarify, professional transcription service, verification of participants' perspectives, school district's website, themes data, AES report, and teacher data. Okay, to get to the meat, we're going to talk about the results. Okay. The question the two questions I was looking to answer, I felt that the research and the narratives of the participants, along with the literature review, confirmed my two questions and answered them. Theme 1, differentiated instruction. The majority of participants agreed that in order to successfully meet the needs of all students, teachers would have to vary their instructional delivery. And to go back, the first question is, what strategies do teachers use to successfully teach African-American students in a specific urban Texas school district? Theme 2, make learning relevant. The importance of adding cultural pedagogy and cultural relevance when working with African-American students was mentioned throughout the study. 4 out of 5 administrators mentioned it, as well as only 5 out of 9 teachers. However, the word relevance, they used other words, and they actually used the word relevance. However, others were also in agreement with the words such as connecting learning. So, and this was to express concern in working with African American students. Theme 3, the importance of lesson planning was also considered an essential element. Regardless of ethnicity, students' needs were mainly viewed the same across the board. Theme 4, hands-on learning. Hands-on learning was also considered an essential element. It was viewed as an essential element when teaching African-American students by half of the participants. The majority of participants felt that African-American students do not respond to being lectured to for long periods of time. Theme 5, small groups. This is collaborative grouping. It was considered an essential element in the learning process. It was noted that this paradigm shift did not have to be performed daily, but was considered an asset for those who knew to effectively engage students in the process of completing certain tasks. Now, these first 5 that I mentioned, they answered my first question: what strategies do teachers use to successfully teach African American students in a specific urban Texas school district? I'm now going to my question number 2: what common characteristics do teachers have that teach and work with African American students? setting high expectations. It was the belief by the majority of participants involved in this study that students need to be challenged academically. Theme 7, build authentic relationships. The importance of establishing positive relationships and working with African American students was mentioned by 4 out of 5 administrators, but mainly applied to all students. In contrast, only 5 of 9 of the teachers particularly or actually stated the word relationship. However, the others were also in agreement, but they used the word care to express concern and work with African American students. Theme 8, provide students with exposure to increased background knowledge. The majority of participants discussed strategies that were used to support their stance in regards to exposing students to more than they would have been relegated to receiving at home. Theme 9, utilize motivational techniques to spur student interest. Although participants perceive the benefits that motivating students would have, they also perceive the barriers or issues associated with trying to establish this worthwhile cause. Theme 10, ability to grow students. All participants agreed that knowledge of content and the ability to implement that knowledge to diverse students was central to effectively teaching all students. Theme 11, care. 12 out of 14 of the participants expounded on teachers who show love and care for all students. The importance of showing genuine love and care for students was a common thread among the entire group of participants. Theme 12, engage students through use of various assessments. Several participants provided commentary regarding student engagement of the learning process and holding students accountable for their learning. And lastly, Theme 13, high self-efficacy. Several participants commented on the scope and sequence of self-efficacy from the teacher perspective. It was perceived that teachers with high self-efficacy were not afraid to push students to do their best and would not take no for an answer. So basically, these 8 additional themes answered question 2 as to what common characteristics or traits these teachers possess that work with African American students successfully. Discussion. The various strategies that teachers use to successfully teach African American students, along with common characteristics that they share. The findings, the teacher's role in getting to know, relate to their students. Teachers must know their students. Utilizing the appropriate resources to meet the individual student needs. Teachers that lack high self-efficacy tend to do whole group instruction rather than breaking it down individually to get to that particular person's learning assessments. The teacher must be the catalyst in setting high expectations. The majority of participants agree that in order to successfully meet the needs of all students, teachers would have to vary their delivery of instruction. And lastly, 9 of the participants involved in this study believe that students need to be challenged academically. The literature supported the findings. African American students have not achieved at the level desired in the public school system. School leadership must rethink pedagogy and practice and address the learning needs of African American students. Effective teachers set high expectations for all students and they value student differences. Benjamin, 2006, stated that when teachers differentiate instruction, they are actually using various strategies to respond to the various needs of their students. And Irvine stated students define caring teachers as those who set limits, provided structure, held high expectations, and push them to achieve. Next will be implications. The findings here was that the curriculum should be the same for every student, regardless of ethnicity. In reading through my dissertation, pretty much all of the participants, the majority, felt that a struggling African American kid would be the same material would be used for a struggling Anglo kid or a struggling Hispanic kid. No difference is found. Also, African American students thrive on positive relationships. That went on throughout almost every interview. Unless you establish a relationship with those students, with African American students, it would be difficult to teach them successfully. An effective teacher is a teacher who comes prepared, who loves what they're doing. That's also a part of being a constructivist teacher. The teacher's ready, the room is ready. Pragmatic. It's all about going forth with a purpose and with intentions to bring that student up to where they need to be. African American students' academic needs were no different from other subpopulations. That was a common theme throughout as well. Lastly, a need exists to recognize the differences between effective teaching and ineffective teaching. As I mentioned before, I believe it was Metter who stated effective teachers and ineffective teachers do not share the same qualities. The literature review also supported the implications. Bainbridge and Lastly commented, black children do not need specialized instruction, but they do need teachers who vary their strategies. Johnson and McElroy stated the authentic relationship allows students to become an active rather than passive participant. Again, hands-on instruction, group learning. It has them to have to take ownership. An example of that would be a kid that's he likes to complete tasks, and then you have a kid that's a leader. When you put them in groups, you need to make sure that they're grouped in different areas and not all on the same. You can't have 5 leaders in one group. You need to make sure there's one leader in each group so that everybody has a role to play, and therefore the task is done. African American students learn best when teachers have a variety of assessments at their beck and call. Again, no student learns the same, and nor do they, nor at the same speed. Administrator and teacher perspectives, addressing effective strategies. Okay. Recommendations. This was brought up based on what was collected throughout the interviews, as well as through the literature review. Let's have an engaging curriculum. Okay. Culturally relevant teaching needs to be seamlessly integrated into the curriculum. Common planning period. Teachers need to brainstorm. They need to get together, need to sit down with one another. They need to find out, how is Johnny able to be successful in your class, but he's struggling in my class? What is it that I'm not doing? They need to share common ideas. They need to share what works. They need to share what's not working. Hands-on learning, okay? There was an example that I put in my paper that talked about a water purification system. And there was a group that was lectured about how to do it. There was a group that actually had to perform it, had to build one. And the end result was the kids that built the water purification system actually learned it and had more, they learned it more concretely based on the fact that they had to put it together in comparison to those that just received the lecture. Make learning relevant. There has to be tie-in to real world. Being an African American, as a young person, I see a lot of myself in what I've read, and I need to understand, how's this going to benefit me in the long term, not just the short term, which is just getting a grade. Okay, it's more than just numbers. It's about, how can this benefit me in my life? Because if it benefits my life, I'm more acceptable to pursue and learn it, and therefore I can take it as my own, and it just gives me something else that I can formulate before making a conclusion on something. Lastly, cultural diversity training. Everybody needs to embrace culture. Whether the room is filled with just white kids, it's culture in the room. If it's full with black kids, it's culture in the room. So when you blend everyone in, it has to be multicultural. It becomes multicultural. So it's at that point where teachers must first come to grips with their own cultural orientations before they start coming to grips with those of their students. Because if you can look in the mirror and see what's wrong with you first, then you can make that correction, and then it can kind of give you a different perspective on how you view others. Because we all need one another, and education is going to be here to stay. So we need to make the most of our opportunities, especially with kids. Suggestions for further research. Effective strategies to teach African American students in urban Texas school district would be for a replication would be necessary. Okay, I left the word out, but would be necessary for replication within a larger sample, as it would be desirable to study effective strategies to teach African American students and how they correlate with the achievement of these students. Okay. Another useful study would be to assess the implementation of single gender classes. I had a participant talk about, we don't have a single gender school, but we did have some single gender classes, and this particular participant felt that it really did help. It kept them on task. There were less distractions. You didn't have to worry about any insults and any mischievous behavior for the most part. Another will be a longitudinal study based on purposeful sampling of first-year and tenured administrators and teachers. Could be used to follow them throughout the first 5 to 10 years in the profession. A similar study could be conducted by gender and within a content area. My final thought: it is good to have an end to journey toward. Excuse me, I'm going to say that again. It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end. This process of trying to attain this terminal degree of a doctorate in education has not come without, its frustrations and setbacks. Life is life, and things come up. But through the grace of God, I've been allowed to make it this far. My dissertation is coming from the heart. I really and truly believe that it's a valid study, and that it has a purpose in the reliable body of literature. The findings revealed, based on answering the question, the first question, what strategies teachers use to successfully teach African American students from a specific urban Texas school district in North Central Texas. The findings revealed, based on differentiated instruction, making learning relevant, lesson planning, small group, and let me start over. The findings revealed through differentiated instruction, making learning relevant, lesson planning, small group, still missing one. Okay. Final thought, take 3. It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end. In pursuing this terminal degree, it's been one of many challenges and maybe an occasional setback. But through the grace of God, I've been allowed to make it this far. The narratives of the participants were outstanding. I couldn't have hoped for a better group. The findings revealed, based on differentiated instruction, making learning relevant, aligning lesson plans, hands-on learning, and small group, that African American students cut final thought, take 4. It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end. The findings reveal, based on differentiated instruction, making learning relevant, lesson planning, hands-on activities, and small grouping, that the question to answer 1, what are the effective strategies that teachers use to successfully teach African American students? The findings reveal that African American students thrive academically when they are provided with an abundance of activities that will contextualize their learning. As evidenced by the narratives of participants, African American students seem to achieve success when lesson planning is aligned with their learning needs in mind. In addition, teaching characteristics found common among teachers who successfully teach African American students illustrated how teachers not only connect with African American students, but presented a paradigm shift in which other teachers may be inspired to align best practices while improving upon their cultural pedagogy. Setting high expectations, building authentic relationships, engaging students through use of various assessments, providing students more cultural through to increase their background knowledge, high self-efficacy. It goes on and on. Those particular themes answered question number 2. There is no denying the importance of the use of effective teaching strategies, as well as just having discourse over what the most common characteristics shared by teachers who are effective in addressing the learning needs of African American students are. As I mentioned at the start of the video, the single biggest factor in the classroom is classroom teacher. Teachers in the profession may indeed lack the training necessary to work with this particular subpopulation. However, with more evidence-based practice, along with adding additional professional development, with an emphasis on cultural pedagogy, this could be the start of something big in addressing the learning needs of this particular subpopulation that is long overdue for education. That's all I have. Again, I'd like to thank you for being a part of this WebEx presentation and viewing my presentation. I hope that I have enlightened you on the need for this study to go forward and to also be expounded upon in other studies down the road. I don't know where this is going to lead me. Obviously, it's been a strong undertaking on my part to come this far, And I believe in what I've written. I believe in what was said. And I'm hoping that this will be something that you can take and reflect on. I look forward to hearing from you and your responses. And thank you very much. Done. I'm done.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I was gonna.